Hello and welcome back to the Black Dad Brat podcast. My name is Jamil Pugh and I'm your host. And I'm here with Jovanie Harris, and he's going to tell us a little bit about toddler playtime ideas and give us some suggestions on how we can keep our kids away from the TV screens and actually engage in learning and supporting their development. So, Jovanie, tell us about what it is that we can do as parents to engage our kids in a healthy way.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jamil. So first of all, what we're going to learn today and our objectives is we're going to learn the importance of playtime ideas first and foremost. Then we're going to learn, how playtime activities can help with childhood development because we're all parents, so we want to make sure that our kids are developing. And then also, I want to help everyone out there, to be able to identify some actual playtime ideas that they can engage in, like right now, whether it be having to pay for some things, and also whether it's, in situations where they don't have to pay for things at all. So let's dive in. So what is toddlerhood? So toddlerhood is, around 1 year, 1 year's old to about 3 years old. Okay. So, a lot of folks know what toddlerhood, toddlerhood is a time frame where, kids are really curious. They're really active. They're really starting to get into things. So you really have to keep them engaged. Okay. So let's discuss right now some of the benefits of playtime ideas for toddlers. Well, first and foremost, it helps with their emotional development, which is key. Building a child's resilience at a very early age, is key and very helpful for them. It also can build up their self-confidence. Okay. It also promotes physical dexterity and strength. Okay. A lot of the playtime, activities for kids can be, really engaging, can involve balance, can involve, movement, help to get their mind working with their body. Okay. Playtime activities also foster imagination. I mean, we all remember as a kid, having an imagination. I just saw my kid the other day. He's a year and a half old, and he had an action figure in his hand, and he was just like, boom, or something. I don't know what he was thinking, but he was clearly, engaged in activity, and he's using his imagination, right? Jamil, can you think of something, that your child does right now to kind of engage with a toy?
Yeah, my kid loves to, like, when she's taking a bath, she loves to like make me order food. And she's like, "Oh, what do you want? You want cheeseburger? You want spaghetti? You want pizza?" And it's like, he's like, "Coming right up. I'm making your food." And she's like kind of like playing with putting those things together. And she even, verbalized like, "No, I'm just pretending right now." Or, we can't get on the hot lava or stuff like that. So I think it's really cool to kind of see how my child process things, what things are important to her. And even with my son now, like, he's starting to, he's 1 years old, just, as of 2 weeks ago, starting to like get into this idea of play and interacting and starting to see those different emotions around, like, when he's being, when we're playing with him, the smiling, the laughing, the giggling, all those things as a parent you love to see. But like you were talking about before, it builds that confidence and, just healthy emotions going through the kid. And so I love the idea of, like, finding ways to keep that energy within my children.
Absolutely. That's awesome. In fact, that actually leads us to our next point, because one of the other things that playtime ideas do for toddlers is it helps them to explore new roles, particularly like even adult roles. So as you talked about, your child is in the kitchen, and she's chefing something up. She has that in her imagination because she saw, her parents in the kitchen chefing things up. So because she's seeing that, she's imitating that, and it's cultivating, an imagination around that. So excellent. Also, go
One
ahead.
quick thing I wanted to kind of just jump in. Like, I think, I didn't realize the importance of certain toys in kids' development. Right. As I'm looking at this picture now, it's like a kid playing with like blocks. But like my daughter has like a kitchen, or, she has like a like playhouse, or she has the Paw Patrol thing that you guys gave us. It's like those type of things starts to help her imagine and bring things into to real life. And then I remember, going to your house and seeing like a little, like, I don't know if it's a little workout bike next to your workout bike in the garage. So I know your
Yeah.
son is like seeing his father work out and exercise, and now he's probably right next to you doing the same thing. So
Mhm.
I do love the idea, like it helps them to think about like healthy activities that adults may be participating in.
Absolutely, absolutely, and you're right. He is right next to me, pedaling on that bike. Um, but kids like to get creative too. You talked about the picture here. You talk about the blocks. Blocks allow for kids to get really creative. There's a different kind of blocks. There's like little magnetic kind of shapes. That you can get that are very similar. Give you kind of like the ability to use your imagination and use that creativity. Build things similar to blocks, but just in a different fashion. That's another thing that Playtime Ideas also provide for a toddler in their childhood development. One of the big things that engaging in these toddler activities does for children is it helps them to be able to respond to adversity. If you've ever seen a child play with blocks or play with anything that they can't get to work, they get really frustrated. We all probably can remember a time in our lives when we were playing with a toy and getting really, really frustrated. We probably can't remember back to when we were toddlers, but this adversity that you experience playing, with a toy also helps you, when you're playing with others. So when your child is playing with other kids and things aren't particularly going their way, and also just kind of developing that patience, and being present and understanding one's feelings, right? So that's obviously a time where, you'd have an adult around, helping to shape those reactions, helping a person, like I did have to do with my son sometimes. Hey, calm down. You'll get it to work, right? Slow yourself down and then continue, right? And these helps to instill and practice, problem solving skills. Also, learning to share is a big thing for toddlers, right? All toddlers need to learn how to share. Now, a big thing with toddler activities is something to think about. If you're a person and this is your first child, right? This is the only child in the home. Learning to share can be a little bit more challenging because there's not another sibling there to have to share with. It's in those cases, it's good to supplement this with, activities with other kids, engaging with other kids more often. This could, happen with daycare, or, things like that. Okay. But when a person is engaging in these, or when a toddler is engaging in these activities, it helps them to be able to learn how to share. It also helps with their motor skills, balance, we talked about that, mind-body connection as well. So now let's get into some creative playtime ideas that we all could implement. What I tried to do is I tried to implement some things that, you don't have to spend any money on, right? Like who wants to go to the store right now when you really just need to keep your toddler occupied? What can you do like right now that you probably have around your home? Well, you could do a scavenger hunt. Okay, scavenger hunt keeps the toddler engaged. You can find items around the house and you can hide them. In fact, oftentimes toddlers are doing their own scavenger hunt, right? Mine does a scavenger hunt with the remote control.
Yeah.
Just hide it in various places, right? You can also make sure that they're themed for the season, right? So if it did require going to the store, you could go get the small like pumpkins, during Thanksgiving or during the fall. And then you can also get eggs, for the, Easter egg hunts, right? So you can also do a dance party, right? Kids love to dance. Kids love to move. One of the good things about this is it gets their energy out, right? It also, rhythm is good though too. The sound of music is good. I highly encourage to introduce kids to music that have, good sounds, but also like good vibes. A lot of parents, it's the tendency is to limit cuss words or music that is really aggressive. But music with positive messaging too, because one thing about a toddler is they're listening to everything and they're absorbing everything. So, pretty soon they're going to be talking. And if
Yeah.
they're learning the words from a song and they're inappropriate, then, some of the first words could be inappropriate, or they could be just, regurgitating some things that, that you may not be proud of. Right. But I will warn you, get ready to hear a song on repeat. They've got a lot of cool songs like Kids Bop, and they've got playlists out there. And if you have some favorite kids movies, you can probably create a playlist from just those songs and those movies as well. You
You know,
can
I
build a
just
fort. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say I just found out that Snoop Dogg has like 2 albums of kid music, and he has some pretty good songs in there, bro. I mean, for me, it's just hearing Snoop, like songs from my childhood or my early adulthood, but in a kid format. And so sometimes you can find music that isn't like too repetitive or something that you're just not interested in and all. I mean, the Disney music is completely played out on my list. And my daughter likes to run things over and over and over. But I'm slowly introducing her into like R&B or positive music or just songs that do give her a good vibe, that I do feel proud for her to kind of either learn the words or say the different things. But like I said, Snoop has some pretty good stuff. Gracie Corner is good. I mean, and I feel like we're living in a great time frame because when we think about like culturally appropriate music for us, for Black
Hmm.
kids, would have our beats and have our rhythm and have our cadences that are age appropriate. There's stuff out there now. I personally use Tidal, and you may use Apple Music or whatever, but if you search for it, it's out there. So that's a big thing for me, is making sure that the music that my kid and one other thing is like they have these Leapfrog headphones
Hmm.
that I thought was just absolutely incredible. Not only do they have great music, but there's just like activities and maybe there's scavenger hunts and things that the kid can be doing with just the headphones on. And that kind of gives you some space to be able to listen to your music in the car if they got their headphones on, but you're monitoring that is positive content and they're learning something. So it's another way to kind of leverage audio to develop your kid.
Absolutely. Those are some great tips. Yeah. Gracie's Corner is on repeat over here.
Mhm.
And yeah, I love all the new sounds right now. I mean, I remember I posted a song. I posted a video of my son as a toddler dancing to Sam Cooke. Because
Yeah.
I was just listening to it in the house, and it was just it was just a vibe that day, and and so kids love music. Kids like to move. Kids like to dance. It really is. It speaks to all of us, as we all know.
Mhm.
So moving on, building a fort. I mean, come on, everybody knows about building a fort. Now, get ready for your couch cushions to be dismantled, and all of your throw pillows, and all those things are going to be uh, you know removed from their rooms or wherever they're at, right? All in the name of the creativity of a kid. And they might even take a nap in their fort. It's actually a really cool thing when you can build it with them, and maybe do a movie night, or maybe do a lunch, inside of the fort. They're really engaged, and they really love using their imagination and making their own little world. And just as we all imagined as a kid, that fort felt so big to us, right? Um, but in reality, you know, it probably hurts our back just to get down there, you know.
Yes. Yes.
Another cool tip is using artist box. This is one thing that I found very useful. You know, my son turned a box into a car one time. You know, didn't really look like a car, but I mean, he thought it was a car. He's using his imagination, right? You know, if you have these old boxes from Amazon, you know, opening them up and turning them into this big, canvas can be very beneficial to a kid. You know, it's disposable. You can throw it right out when they're done. They can make a huge mess, you know, and, it limits the amount of like notebook paper or whatever it is that you're using at the time. And the kids just love it. You can do a movie night. I mean, they've got tons of movies out right now, constantly coming out with kids' movies. Obviously, you want to be, careful, about just putting on a movie and leaving. Right, you want to kind of be present, so that you can kind of monitor a child and what they're taking in. And most of the time, kids might not even finish the whole movie. Especially as a toddler. It might even interfere with their nap time or whatnot. But bring snacks, be engaged. It's a good time to bond with a kid. And, if you're looking for an activity, sometimes, there might be moments where, kids bouncing all over the place, and they're just like, oh my goodness, we need something to just calm everything down, down. Sometimes a movie night could do that for you.
One of the things about movie night that I want to kind of just warn parents is to really like evaluate the content before you allow your kids to watch it. There's a lot of adult concepts that are infused into movies that you may not feel comfortable with your child learning or being exposed to at the age that they are at that moment. And then for us, whether you might Google it, check out the reviews, get a sense of who the characters are, what they do in the films, maybe watch it the night before, because there's been several movies that were like, oh, no, turn that off, right? One that comes to mind that, has some inappropriate stuff is Rango. There's been other ones that we're just not comfortable with. So do your research. Don't just think that because it's on Disney, it's appropriate for your child to watch, or that because it's PG-13 that it's child friendly, right? A lot of times these movies, because they know parents are having to watch these on repeat, a lot of the content is to entertain the adults, thinking that the kid won't necessarily understand the concept. So it is important to evaluate the content before you allow your kids to consume it. I can't stress that enough.
Absolutely. That's a really good point. Moving on, water play. Water play is also a good activity. As a toddler, it really doesn't take much, for a toddler to get to start using their imagination. And so, sensory things are really cool for toddlers. If you were to just get a bucket of water and go outside, a toddler would love to just splash around in that bucket of water, and they'll splash it around everywhere. And, if you put a couple of little cups in there, they'll cups with handles, they'll grab the cups and pour the water and splash it around. And I mean, we all remember as a kid, obviously probably maybe a little bit older, but running outside playing in the sprinklers,
Yep.
or having the water hose being sprayed on us, right? And that was a fun activity. So that's something that's right there in your home. I will say, I can't promise you it won't cost you no money, right? But it will, because water does cost, right? But it is something that is in your home. So what about things that you can go out and buy? Okay. Some things that you can go out and buy, on Amazon or wherever it's located. I just love sensory things like kinetic sand. Kinetic sand is just a really cool, thing for kids to play in. It allows for kids to just play in one spot. And the thing about kinetic sand is that it's not like sand like we think of sand. A lot of folks think of sand like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna have sand everywhere. Kinetic sand just stays together, and it sticks together, and it molds together, and it's not messy. So
It's easy to vacuum.
it's very easy to vacuum, very easy to vacuum. So, and then it provides a lot of solo playtime for a kid, and it's interactive. And one of the benefits to kinetic sand is if multiple kids are engaging with kinetic sand, it doesn't really require sharing because it's all falling apart. So they're all touching it, and it's falling apart, and it really doesn't. It's not like my toy or your toy type of situation. Building blocks is a good one. Building blocks, and also they have other type of blocks that are like magnetic and things like that that you can go out and buy as well. One of the cool things that you can do with kinetic sand and with pretty much other things in your home as well is to just create a sensory bin. Take a plastic bin and put a bunch of sensory objects in there, and a kid will go to town, and they will just be there. They will go grab their toys to go put it in the sensory bin. They will make their own, accessories and create their own little town in that little sensory bin. Okay. It creates a lot of different textures. And once again, something that you can do to set your kid up with solo play and entertains them for hours. Puzzles is a good one. Okay. Obviously, you want to make sure that you look at the age range on the puzzles, but puzzles are really good because it's not only good for their creativity, but it's good for their problem solving. It helps them to be able to, be patient. It entertains them for hours. And the puzzles that you're going to get a toddler, they're only going to be so many pieces. So once you kind of put them together, you can kind of break them apart and say, let's do it all over again, right? They're very easy typically to put together and do it with them. And it allows for you to get down, just like as you see on the picture, get down on their level, right? And really engage with them, okay? It also allows for them to be able to teach them vocabulary, okay? Some of the puzzles are actually, pictures, like pictures of things like, oh, that's a dinosaur, or that's a leaf or a flower. And it allows for you to be able to talk with them. And it allows for you to say, oh, not there. It allows for you to really explain things to them. That's all good for, a toddler's learning. An activity table is another thing. Just taking a blank, area and setting up, an activity there for the toddler is a really good thing to do. You can take the existing toys that they have, or you can take something like a block set or something that, like a puzzle, just making sure that they have something, that they can play with, on their own. And this is, once again, an activity that they can play with for hours, and it could be solo play. Books are always a go-to. In fact, as they're a toddler, it should be books, 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 books. It should be like books all throughout the day. It should be books for sure at night. Books really allow for them to hear words, see pictures, and reading also captures their imagination as well. And reading is one of those things that's like it has to involve an adult because a toddler can't read. So since they can't read, this is a time that you can really be intentional in spending some quality time with your child because it involves you. It also gives you the chance to explore some different topics with the child because now they have books for everything. They got books for, when a kid is, struggling to go to bed at night, they've got, books for, a kid who needs to use nice hands, right? They've got, books, about anything, stinky
Eating
diapers,
vegetables.
eating vegetables. I mean, just everything. I mean, and now one thing that's cool about books is they've got books that got people that look like us in them.
Yeah.
And that's that they've got a lot of them. one of the things that I can suggest that you do, my wife is just awesome. She goes to the library often, uh, and when you go to the library, what you can do is you can request the books that you want the library to get. She just requests them and basically orders them, and she goes and picks them up, and she picks up like 20 books at a time, and takes them home and just reads them to the kids, and then takes them back and gets a whole new crop of books based on what we're trying to focus on at the time, whether it be we're trying to focus on getting ready to go to school in the morning, like my 5-year-old, or whether it be struggling to go to bed at night, like my 1.5-year-old. So books is just, I can't really say enough about books and how vital reading books to your toddler is and will be for their ultimate development.
Yeah, literacy rates is one of the things that really plagues our community in terms of, reading at grade level. One of the statistics, you can fact check me on this, but I believe a significant portion of individuals who are incarcerated do not read above a 6th grade level, maybe 3rd grade level. But to develop the love of reading is super important. But I want to kind of end our podcast with this. It's I don't want to say it's a poem, but it's more like a quick story. And it kind of ties in with the idea of paying for things to develop your child. And so the title of this is Paying So Much for Sports. People always ask, why do you pay so much money for your kids to do sports? Well, I have a confession to make. I don't pay for my kid to do sports. Personally, I could care less about what sport he or she does. So if I'm not paying for sports, what am I paying for? I pay for those moments when my kid becomes so tired and she wants to quit but doesn't. I pay for those days when my kid comes home from school and is too tired to go to her training but goes anyway. I pay for my kid to learn to be disciplined and focused and dedicated. I pay for my kid to learn to take care of their body and to learn how to correctly fuel their body for success. I pay for my kid to learn to work with others and be a good teammate, gracious in defeat, and humble in success. I pay for my kid to learn to deal with disappointment when they may not get what they're working towards or hope for, but still go back week after week, giving it their absolute best. I pay for my kid to learn to make and accomplish goals. I pay for my kid to respect not only themselves, but others, officials, judges, and coaches. I pay for my kid to learn what it takes, learn that it takes hours and hours and years of hard work and practice to create a champion, and that success does not happen overnight. I pay for my kid to be proud of the small achievements and to work towards the long-term goals. I pay for my kid, I pay for the opportunity for my child will have to make lifelong friendships, create lifelong memories, and be as proud of her achievements as I am. I pay so that my child can be in the gym instead of being in front of a screen. I pay for those rides home where we make precious memories talking about practice, both good and bad. I pay so that my child can learn the importance of time management and balancing what is important, like school and keeping their grades up. I could go on, but to be short, I don't pay for sports. I pay for the opportunities that sports provides my kid so that, no, I could go on, but to be short, I don't pay for sports. I pay for the opportunities that sports provides my kid with to develop attributes that will serve her well throughout her life and give her the opportunity to bless the lives of others. From what I have seen so far, I think it is a great investment.
That's
So
great.
different perspective as to what you're really paying for when you think about the high cost of whatever opportunity that child may encounter. But with that, thank you all for watching this podcast. We really appreciate your support. Remember to like, follow, and share all of our content on all of your platforms. And until then, we will see you in the next episode of the Black Dad Brand podcast.